Howdy everyone, this is Trisha and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I created this mini snowman Christmas tree, and I used some Dollar Tree items such as the little trees and the basket to put it together. So let's get to crafting. Alright everyone, so let me tell you what the supplies are going to be. From the Dollar Tree, I grabbed these mini white Christmas trees and I've got 3 of them. I also grabbed this little Christmas basket. It's really cute. It doesn't matter what color you grab. I also have a package. It's a 3-piece of these styrofoam balls. They're 2.4 inch or 60 millimeter diameter. I'm only going to use one of those. I also have the 6-piece of little styrofoam balls, and these are 1.4 inch or 35 millimeter. These are completely optional. I'm going to use all of these. And I could also purchase my ribbon from the Dollar Tree, but I've got some ribbon already at home, and I'm going to use some of this for his scarf. If you don't have a ribbon, you could use a little piece of fabric. I also have 2 sheets of felt here. I have one in black and one in white. I have a specific idea of how I want to put my little tree together in the basket, but if it doesn't work, I've got some styrofoam on the side waiting in case I need it, so you might want to have some on hand just in case you have a little trouble putting yours together. From the Dollar Tree, you can also find this Faux Snow. I grabbed this one because it's got this little glittery look to it. It doesn't matter where you grab it from, but we're going to need some of that to cover our styrofoam balls. Alright, I already happen to have these little black pom-poms. You can use whatever you want to use, maybe even some buttons. They're completely optional. I'm also going to be using 2 little googly eyes. For my snowman's nose, I found at Hobby Lobby this little carrot nose. You can create one out of clay or even make one out of fabric. From Hobby Lobby, I also grabbed this top hat. I'm also going to need some little decorations just to add some extra touch to my snowman. So from the Dollar Tree, I do have this little tube that has some red ornaments in it. They're little ball ornaments. You can just use whatever amount you want to use. From Hobby Lobby, I grabbed this little package of snowflakes. I also have this little red cardinal that was left over from a package and another craft that I used. I also have these little holly leaves with little berries on them and some little pine cones. These are all left over from packages that I also happen to purchase from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to be needing some white spray paint for my basket, unless you prefer to just brush it on with some acrylic craft paint. Completely optional is some snow spray. I'm going to be using some tissue paper as well, or if you have a couple of cotton balls, grab that. I'm going to be using some white chenille stems. And to put everything together, I'm going to be using my white glue and my hot glue. And as always, I'll be using my scissors, wire cutters, and if I need, my little craft knife, and I need a brush as well. I'm going to start by pouring some of this faux snow into a little bowl. Now, I don't need very much, just a little bit at a time. Next, I poured out some white glue that I'm going to brush on to my large ball, or you could just pour it straight from your bottle and spread it out. Then I'm going to dip it into my faux snow to get a cute little coverage like this. A good tip would be to put your styrofoam balls at the end of a brush or a pencil, little wooden dowels, while you brush on the glue so you don't get it all over your fingers. And then you could just sprinkle the rest of the snow onto it. Once you have it all covered, then you can go ahead and set it aside and do your other little balls, which are completely optional. For my basket, I want to remove this little trim that's at the top edge here. So just pull it right off. And don't worry about these little fuzzies that might get left over. Just try to remove as best as you can. Next, I want to remove this little buckle, but it is into this black part of my basket. So I'm just going to break it so that I can get in there. There we go. Just take it right off. And now I'm going to take my basket and spray paint the outer with my white spray paint, or like I said, you can brush it on with some acrylic white paint. Alright, so now we have our 3 Christmas trees, and they all come with these little feet that goes inserted into the bottom base so that you can insert 3 of them. And that is what our tree stands on. Now I want to leave one of them with the stand, so I'm not going to use the others. And I'm also going to remove this bottom base off of 2 of the trees. Okay, so we're going to leave a base on one of the trees, and we're going to save 3 of these little feet. Put them to the side. Now we're going to go ahead and fluff our trees, and I've gone ahead and I fluffed this one already. And what I did is I didn't fluff it so that all the branches are going around it. I just went off to, you know, like 1/3 of the side. So just do that with all 3 of them, and we'll come back to our next step. Now that all our trees are fluffed up, we're going to take the one that has the base and then the one that doesn't, and we're going to put them back to back. But I'm going to put this up a little bit higher than the other tree because I do not want it to interfere with the base. So that's where I'm going to put it. Now you could use these branches that are on them because they're wired, and you could twist them together to attach the trees. We're going to do the same thing with this 3rd tree like we did to the 2nd one here, but we're going to put it on the other side of the one with the base, and we're going to put it about the same height as that 2nd tree, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to twist the branches together at 3 points so that everything is attached, and then we can fluff our branches to make sure that they're going all the way around. Now, aside from twisting these little branches, you can take your chenille stem, cut little pieces, and then go in there, tie 2 at a time, and then do the next one and tie it also. So you can have some extra hold with those if you prefer. Alright, so I'm taking the very top branches from the 2nd and the 3rd tree and twisting them together so I have just that one long bit at the top. And by the way, I also tied together the 2nd and 3rd tree with the branches. I also twisted those together so to make sure that all the trees were attached to each other in some way. And I feel like that worked really well. You could always just grab some more branches and twist them together to give it a little bit more sturdiness as far as them holding on together. I think this works really great. Now the bottom branches that you have here from that tree that you put a little bit lower, you could use those to wrap around the bottom and try to hide some of that bit of metal that is still showing on the 2nd and 3rd tree that are up a little bit higher. You can just hide a little bit of that. You don't have to worry about it too much. We're going to look at that once we have it on our basket, and if we need to cover it, we will. But we also have the chenille stems that we can use for that. But this is what you want. You want a nice fluffy tree. Alright, so our next step is to create our snowman's arms, and I've got some chenille stem here, and I want to put it around. I'm going to go down about, this is the one that's coming up, so maybe 1, 2, 3 branches down. And I'm going to bring this around like so, and I'm going to shape the arms like at the elbows, if you will. And this looks to me like a good length, so I'm going to go ahead and use this length of chenille stem. So what I want to do to that is I want to make a sleeve that comes around my arm. So I'm just going to wrap it up like this, and I want it about 2 inches wide. So I'm going to cut my felt at about 2 inches wide, maybe a little bit more just to make sure. Okay, so here's our little scrap that we've cut and our chenille stem, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the end here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and grab another one that's not all bent, give myself a little bit less of a worry here. And by the way, this is 12-inch chenille stem, in case you're wondering. So now that I've glued it at the ends, just so that I don't have it rolling around on me, I'm going to bring this over. Now I could glue the whole chenille stem, but I really don't want, any glue showing up on the other side, so that's why I don't want to do that. So okay, so I'm going to fold this side over just a little bit, as long as I'm covering the chenille stem. And then I'm just putting some hot glue right on the edge, and then I'm going to bring over this other edge and encase, so that our chenille stem is encased inside of this. So I'm creating a little tube. So I'm just going to go along the length of this till I get to the very end, and I don't do it in one scoop because I want to make sure that I glue this down carefully and nicely and neatly. Okay, so now that I've got my piece of felt covering my chenille stem, I now have these little arms that I can bend like so, and I can bend them at the elbows so I can create these little arms. And that is what we want. So now we want to make some mittens on the end of our little arms. So I'm going to take the black felt this time, and I'm going to fold about 2 inches or so just to cut out some scraps from here. I'm going to cut out my first mitten, and I want it to be double-sided because I want to make sure that I get 2 sides to my little hand. So I'm going to put this right on here. So that tells me about how wide my mitten can be, and I want it to be just a little bit wider than the end of the felt here. So I'm going to start just a little under a 1/4 inch, create my first shape here, just kind of round it off and then give it a thumb, and then come back in. There we go, just like that. Now that I have it like that, I'm looking at it and it's a little too big, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So now, I know that you can't tell here, but I'm using that as a pattern. Now if you wanted to cut it out of a piece of paper, little notebook paper or some copy paper or even a piece of newsprint or something or a magazine, cut it out of that first to create your little pattern, and then you can cut out your little mittens. So now I've got these little hands. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little arms, and I want to make sure that this part that's glued is flat in the back in the middle here, and then I'm going to put them flat like that because I'm going to want my little mittens to go over like so. So I'm taking the top one, and I want to make sure my thumbs are also inward, or rather upward like that. Okay, this is how I want his little hands to be. So I want to make sure that the little thumb part is up. So I'm going to glue these to the edge here. I'm going to go about maybe a 1/4 inch, a little bit less. All right, this is what I want, and that could be the end of it. That looks okay, but I want to give them a little bit of dimension, and I wanted to use a cotton ball, but I don't have any cotton balls, or at least I can't find them. So I'm going to use tissue paper, and I'm just going to tear it up into little pieces like that, and just make a little bit of a bundle, not too much. I think about so much. And then I can glue that right inside there, okay? So turn it around, turn your little hand around. I'm actually going to tighten this one up a little bit because I noticed that I didn't glue it all the way in. So just tighten it up a little bit, and just making sure that I have some of this black of the mitten outside of it. Okay, so I put some glue there, closing up my tissue as best as I can. Put it right in there. And then just take your hot glue and do one side first. Make sure you're getting this other piece facing it correctly, so you get your little thumbs on there first, and then just close up the rest of it as you go along. And don't forget to close it up here in the back. So add some glue there to that little edge. I'm going to poke in my tissue just a little bit to make sure that glue is clear, and then just glue it all. And there we go. We have that little hand done, and it has a little bit of a dimension to it, just making sure that everything is glued. And then I'll just do the same with this other little mitten. Okay, so my basket is completely painted. I did bring it in. I didn't want to do too many coats of spray paint, so what I did is I took some white craft paint and I gave it a little bit of a touch up just to make sure I had some nice coverage. It is not the best, but it's good enough for me. And also remember that I had these little bits here of the glue and the red felt when I removed that little trim, and I told you not to worry about them. I also touched them up a little bit with some craft paint, but we're going to cover them up further in a moment. Now I want to get my little tree so that it goes in here. Now I could use my basket upside down if I wanted to, but I really want to try this where I make a hole in here so that I can insert it through there, and then these little feet will be inserted back in here once I get it in there. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to just kind of eyeball it, and I feel like I just need a hole that's big enough, so I'm just going to draw a circle here to kind of mark how big I want that. Now as I start cutting this, so I start cutting into my pieces here, I realize these are going to be all kind of loose, so what you want to do before you do that is put glue on there. Get those pieces to kind of stick together. And you're going to turn it around and push it from the inside like that, just to make sure they are all getting stuck. And then once all that's dry, we'll continue cutting our hole. Cutting these little bits here from the center. And then I can do some more gluing if I feel like they're coming apart too much. Alright everyone, so I've already gone ahead and I tested to see if the idea without the styrofoam was going to work. I really like this inverted basket look, so this is going to be great. So now I don't need to use my styrofoam, but it actually turned out to be a good idea that I had some so that I could stick these little dowels in there so my little snowballs and my snowman head would dry. So I'm going to put this aside because we're not doing that yet. So now we're going to take our tree, we're going to take the bottom bit off, and we're going to put these back in here. Now these little leg parts, they have a flat side that goes downward, so you're going to slide it like so, so you have the curved part up. And I'm going to use some hot glue in there because I don't want it to come apart. So I'm going to turn this over, And I could have just put the glue on there as I slid them in, but I'm just going to put the glue in there like so. And just let it just drip downward and it'll all get glued. And I'm going to let that dry for a moment. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to put the base of our tree and insert it through the hole. And then just come back under here and grab this and put it on the metal post of your tree. And just get it in there. You could hot glue it in there as well. And now we want to pull the tree upward. You know, we're pulling it this way so that this part of the legs of the base here are nice and tight against my basket. And I also want to make sure that they're level, that they're inward, you know, they're going in at the same amount. Not that one of us is a little bit too much in, because I don't want my tree to be crooked. So I want to make sure that it's straight. And we can worry about poofing it up again because I know that it lost some of its, you know, some of its shape. So we're going to fix that, okay? So now that we have it where we want it, we can go ahead and hot glue those points so that they won't move on us. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that I glue it at every one of those, and then I'll be back once all of that is dry. All right, so I've gone ahead and I fixed my little branches a little bit better, trying to make it look as nice as I could. And I decided that I kind of like this side a little bit more, so I think that's going to be my front. And of course I can poof it up a little bit more as I go along. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and add his little head here. As you can see, that is going to be about the size that it's going to be. Now if you want to use a bigger ball, because in hindsight when I think about it, maybe I could have used a bigger ball. But to be honest with you, I found the little felt hat and I didn't want to go any bigger. So that's where I'm going to stick. Okay, so to stick the head in there, I'm going to calculate about how far in or how low I want it. And I kind of want it to rest right on top of these little branches. So obviously this is too long. So I'm going to go ahead and snip it just enough where I know it can go into my styrofoam ball. And then I can get my scissors, and I'm actually going to shave a little bit of these little fuzzy bits off the tree here on the top so that I have a thinner piece there. There we go, just like that. And now remember, these are the two tippy tops that were from the two trees, the second tree and the third tree. Okay, so there we go. I'm just twisting them again together to make sure that they're like one piece. And now I'm just going to pick where I put in my little dowel, or I use the brush end to stick in there. There's a little hole there. So I'm going to use that same little hole, and I'm just going to put plenty of glue in it. And then just slide it in. Now, if for some reason your fingers, you know, remove some of those little fuzzies off of it, just brush it on with a little bit more of glue, and then just sprinkle that faux snow on it again. So this is what it looks like. There's the ball, so you can look at it a little closer. I think it looks really cute. And I can take this little bit if I want to actually put it around his neck and just kind of fill in that little area a little bit more. Take that little pine so we don't lose that little bit. We don't throw it away. Okay, so now we got his little arms, and I had said I was going to go down about 3. I've kind of lost count, but I'm going to go somewhere back here and then just move his little little bits of branches out of the way so that I can bring these little arms forward like that. And I think I like that position. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it out again, and I'm just going to put some glue right in here so that I can stick this part in there. So I'm going to pull it out because I want to make sure that I have it centered. I'm going to fold it like that. So I have my little center right here. Put some glue in there. And now that I have that center, get it right in there. And we won't worry about the arms right now. We're going to let this dry, and we'll come back, and then we can shape the arms where we want them. Okay, so now I'm folding at what would be the little elbows of my arms, and I'm bringing them down a little bit, and just to where they kind of meet up together right there. And that is perfect. And I can push these little bits of pine upward a little bit just to kind of hold the little arms in place. There we go. That's what it looks like. So now we want to decorate our snowman tree. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is add these little pom-poms, or if you have little buttons, I want to glue these down the front here to create those little buttons that you would normally put on a snowman, or pieces of coal. So let's go ahead and add some glue, and I'm just going to glue them wherever there's a little pine, maybe a little tip of a pine right there. There's one, so glue it there, and just put as many as you want. I think I'm going to do 3. Kind of already looked at it. Let's see, a little bit lower. There we go. 1, too. And then I'll just move the branches so that I can make sure that they're kind of centered. All right, so the next I'm going to decorate it with these little red ornament balls. Now they have a little thing here where I can add a little hook and then just hook them on, but I don't want to do that. I'm just going to hot glue them on, but to hot glue them I'm going to remove these little tops off of them, because if I just glue this part, these can eventually end up falling off and I don't want that. So I'm just going to remove this, and then I'm just going to glue it from there anywhere on my tree. So just decorate yours however you want with whatever ornaments you have. I also have these little snowflake ornaments that I'm going to also put in there. Now you might not be able to see them right away, but they will be in there if you look at it close up. Another thing you could do is you could also add some lights to your tree at this point before you decorate any further. Alright, so before I continue putting any more decorations on it, I don't want to forget that I did want to do something to the bottom rim here. So all I'm going to do is take the same snow that I've been putting on the little styrofoam balls. So what I want to do is I want to bring it up close to here and add glue to the bottom edge here, a little bit at a time, and then just sprinkle that with snow. I need to turn off my little fan, forgive me. So I'll turn that off. Now I'm just going to cover that little edge and just give it a little bit more of a detail. And then if I want, I can add a little bit more snow up here, have some little drips with my glue gun. Let me go ahead and do that right now. Little drips with my glue gun like that. And then we'll sprinkle that with our snow. Can you see that? There we go. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go all the way around and then add some drips here and there. Remove any webs from my glue gun as well. Alright, so now my next step is to add a scarf. So this is why I have this ribbon, and I'm looking at it, and I could crunch it up and put it on there. So I'm going to just go ahead and kind of compare if I think it's too big or if it's fine. I think it's, let's see, I think it's fine. I did have this thinner ribbon that I wanted to use, but I think I'm going to use some of this on the hat. So I'm going to go ahead and use this bit. And I don't want a scarf to hang too much. So I'm just going to cut off a bit. Let's see, this is about maybe 24 inches, 20 or 24 inches. Again, this is a 2.5 inch wide ribbon. It doesn't have to have wire in it, mine does. Okay, so now I'm going to crunch it up right here and bring it to the front around his neck. And I'm going to want to crisscross it right here. So here's where I'm going to think about it and think, okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe just hot glue this part on top of this one and let this longer bit kind of hang back, and then the shorter bit hang in the front, and then kind of put it behind his arm. But maybe I'll move it a little bit more. I think it's too short. Okay, so that's good. I could, you know, knot it, tie it around, but I think my best bet is just to kind of hot glue it in place. So I'm just going to scrunch this up. So I'm going to take it off. And here on the table, I'll just scrunch up the pieces by putting little bits of glue and then just kind of folding them, fanning them, and folding it. And it was over here again. So I'll do the same thing over here. Try not to burn your fingers. That all just helps keep it, you know, like gathered like that. Now I could add a little bit more glue on this other side as well. Okay, so now I can put it back on my snowman tree and then glue right on here, put this on top. And I'm just going to hold it till it's dry and we'll do the next step. Alright, so I've been grabbing this end that goes to the back and then just kind of tugging it into the little pine branches there. And I'm going to take the one in the front and do the same thing. So what I did to the back here, I'm going to cut this a little straighter. And what I did is I was cutting into it. Remember, there's some wire there on the edge, and I'm just cutting little bits here to give it the little bit of, you know, the little shaggy bits on the end of the scarf, or a little fringe. Just kind of give it a little bit of a fringe. Put it under his arm here, and then just tuck it between the little branches so it's not sticking out so much. Oh, look at that. Okay, so now we can put his arm back down. And now I'm going to take a snowball, one of these, and now I had little dowels in there, so I want to make sure the little hole that I made into them doesn't show. So I'm going to put this towards the front, and I want to have him holding it. So I'm going to put some glue inside of his mittens. Make sure the little hole is facing backwards. I'm going to put some more glue over here and attach it like that so he's holding a little snowball. Okay, now I'm going to take the remainder of my little snowballs and making sure the little hole is not facing forward, and I'm going to glue them at the bottom base of my basket. Okay, I did also glue one right here at the bottom. So now we want to go to the next phase. Now I'm taking this thinner ribbon, wrapping it around the top of my hat so I know how much to cut. And I'm actually going to fold this down in half because it's really wide. And then I'm going to glue it around my hat like so. And now I'm going to decorate my hat. I've got some holly here. I've got the little bird. And then I've got another little snowflake and some little pine cones. So that's what I'm going to decorate it with. Alright everyone, so now I want to decorate his little face, but I realized I don't have a little mouth, so I'm using a little, this is a little scrap of a black chenille stem. It's actually kind of a little bit metallic, but that's okay. I'm just going to shape it into a mouth here. I'm going to compare to see what size I need. Maybe a little bit smaller, so maybe about 3/4 of an inch bit, and then just kind of curve it into a smile like that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and glue his eyes and his nose and his mouth. Turn him around so I can see. There you go. I think the nose I'm going to have to hold it on for a bit. Okay, so now his little eyes. And there he is. And now we're going to put on his little hat right about there. I don't think the hat needs to be on there perfectly straight because it looks kind of cute if it's a little bit off to the side. So I'm just going to put it wherever it lands. That's it. Okay, just straighten up my tree a little bit here. I have one little snowflake left over. I'm just cutting off that little bit where it hangs from. And I'm going to put it on his little snowball that he's making over here, right there. And there we go. Alright everyone, so I have completed my mini snowman tree, as you can see here. I think he looks super cute. I did off camera spray him with that snow spray. You know, I didn't show it, but I just misted it on there. I just wanted him to have a little bit of a light dusting so that it would look like he just had some fresh fallen snow on him. And he's got his little snowballs ready down here at the bottom, and he's holding one in his hand, and he's ready to just toss that over to somebody. You can decorate this any way you want, as you can see, or use any colors that you want, and it will look super cute. You wouldn't even have to paint the basket if you don't want, or do it in a red or a black or some other color that you might like. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up and leave a nice comment down below and let me know what you think of my idea, and if you're going to be recreating it, if you're going to do any changes, let me know what those changes are so you can share your ideas with everyone else. Please hit that subscribe button, and right after that you'll see a little bell. Hit that also so you get notified of my videos. I am putting up 2 Christmas craft videos each week for November, so I hope that you'll be enjoying that. Make sure you follow my Facebook page, Trisha's Creations, so that we can share ideas and recipes on there as well, and you can post your pictures of your crafts on there as well. Make sure you share on your social medias. Everyone be kind, be respectful. This is a time that we all need to give each other lots of love. So, as always, enjoy.